What it do? What it do? It's been a while. Has it? Let me make sure everything's good before I get started and everybody's like, we can't hear you. This is one of them ones though. When I was doing the research for this one, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty excited to have this discussion. Hopefully, we have a packed, or at least a few folks in the room that can go back. We can go back and forth because we got clarity now. I mean, at least clarity that I was seeking for and looking for within the real estate market. We got directions. We got some certainty, and based off of things that are going to start occurring, for the most part. Also, I could say like, I mean, we'll talk about it a lot throughout this entire stream. So if you guys do have questions, just this is the one where I'm like, yo, stay tuned, watch this one. This is gonna be a jam-packed one, and I'm not even bluffing, honestly. I know that's a lot of times you guys get baited into these things, but this is gonna be one of those streams here that you want to watch, because it will prepare you for what the future may hold. And of course, we don't know exactly what that's gonna hold, but one thing is we like I said, we have clarity. We have information that's now going to be able to assist us and enable us to know exactly in which direction should we even be heading in. Whether that's you as a buyer, if you are a homeowner and you're watching this, just trying to get back into the market to buy for, to maybe downsize or get a bigger home for the circumstances that may change. This is, yeah, we just gonna get into it because despite how tough this housing market is right now, I'm sorry to break it to many individuals that were on the sidelines waiting for things to get, I wouldn't say, I mean, I guess a lot of individuals were waiting for things to get worse, but it doesn't seem as if like that's where we're heading. In fact, I think based off of what I know, what I'm gonna show you guys, the best time to buy as a buyer was this past summer. Unfortunately, I'm here to break the bad news. Unless something else happens, right? Everything that I say here today can change tomorrow if all hell breaks loose. As we all know, there's literally a government shutdown as we speak. Hopefully, that doesn't last for a pretty long time. In fact, while we're on the topic, in a government shutdown, just expect those government loans, FHA, VA. I don't know if USDA will be considered. I mean, it is a government loan, but I don't know if it would be considered in this. Probably, but just expect all those loans to take a little bit longer. Right? We're talking about people who are expected to be reporting to work, but not get a check. So I don't. There's just a lot of complications that can go on there, but that's the one thing I would definitely say. I don't really see it having a long impact on the real estate market unless if this prolongs for a very long time, which personally speaking, I highly doubt. But we shall see. However, going back to what I was mentioning, yes, the summer of 2025 was by far the best real estate market as a buyer to purchase in. And that's because of how many sellers there were and how many buyers there were, which we'll go ahead and get into because now the tables are starting to turn and we're now getting into that balanced market, right? The market that we haven't seen in like what since I want to say 2018, which is when it was balanced. After that, it was 2019 came through and 2020 was, what that was. But so we'll talk about, like I said, a few things. So the summer being one of the best markets, and you'll understand why it was the best markets outside of course buyers and sellers, how large of a disparity there was there. But we'll also talk about where are the buyers markets currently, because again, everything I'm mentioning here is not everything I'm mentioning is nationally, but real estate is very hyper local. So you're going to want to understand at least what's going on locally in your local markets. And of course, if you want to get more information on that, you can reach out to me and I can connect you to an agent I know in your local area. And we can go ahead and do that. But also, where are the sellers markets, right? So if you're a homeowner currently, kudos to you. Maybe you don't have a good rate, right? And you're trying to get out of it. There's a few different strategies you can go ahead and go about, but knowing where you are in the seller's market is very important because then you know if you have the negotiating power or not, and as well as a buyer if you do have the negotiating power. In addition, you will we will talk about what is it that you can do in a balanced market, because I personally think that you're going to lose as a buyer some negotiating power. So we're going to have to get a little bit more strategic, and of course take this day by day, month by month, and of course market by market. But that's something else that I definitely want to go ahead and inform you all. And then stick around, because I will talk about, again, we're in a balanced market now, so things are going to be a little bit different. So I am going to be talking about down payment assistance programs. Stay tuned. Tap in for that one, because there's a resource out there. I've shared it many times over and over, and I'm going to keep doing it until you guys know how to utilize it, or at least get to it. Because that's not, I don't want to say free money, but it's money that's out there that you can go ahead and utilize to go ahead and get yourself into a home. Right now, we all understand that, what is it? Affordability is a big problem to everybody not everybody, but at least a lot of first time buyers, the young buyers, maybe even some others, right? So that got the worst end of the stick. So we're gonna be talking about down payment assistance. So go ahead and really tap into that one. Potato in the chat. What it do, man? Or lady, sorry. I don't know. You got an interesting name there. Just stumble upon your channel. Subscribe. Your analysis is always spot on. I appreciate that, man. If you have any questions, anything I could do to help you with your home buying journey or anything within real estate, I mean, by all means, reach out. Let me know, because this is my time that I pour into everybody as a way to, like, kind of do my service, right? Again, I make all this content to be able to assist everybody, and sometimes some people, may not understand entirely what the heck is even in the content. So this is your time, our time, I should say, not even your time, our time to go back and forth on different scenarios, different circumstances that you all are going through. In fact, while we're all, well, Potato, I mean, that's the only one that decided to pull up and show out. So if you don't mind, I want to, for anybody that's even watching on the replay, do me this solid, because I'm curious to know, and you guys will learn a little bit something here with just doing this in itself. If you go to my channel right now, I believe it's in the community chat. Actually, let me just go ahead and share with you. What am I doing? Oh no, I messed it up, didn't I? There we go. So if you go to the post, it's going to be interesting. Answer this question. So when do you think is generally the best time to buy a home? And you'll be shocked as far as the answer. As you can see here, there is literally no summer dates. Because generally the spring and the summer, this is a hint, but the spring and summer is not always the best time to buy as a buyer. So, I mean, that gave you literally a massive hint right there that you can go ahead and take to the bank and utilize it how you want to utilize that. But we'll go ahead and move on forward, because I really want to discuss what I want to discuss today, and of course answer any questions that do come through. Let me go ahead and pull this up. All right, let me go ahead and zoom in just to make sure you guys can all tap in and see what the heck I am talking about. So yes, we know summer 2025, well, now you know, summer 2025 was the best buyer's market. And I say that because I don't think we'll experience it or see it again. Maybe if, well, no, because rates are, and we'll talk about this even more, rates are supposed to be coming down slowly, right? They're not going to be coming down to aggressive levels where a lot of people want 3%. So if you're waiting for that, your best bet is to assume someone else's loan, which if you have questions on that, drop it in the chat, or drop it in the comments, whatever the case is, and I can guide you on what I know, and at least how is it that I find these rates are 3, 4% rates, right? Without having to go and new construction of the resale market, right? Well, you're essentially going to the resale market if you are picking up someone's loan that is assumable. But it being the best time to purchase, that's something to definitely keep in the back pocket because there's no telling when that time will come. So let's go ahead and go through this. The main reason why they're saying that the summer of 2025 was the best is because of, like I mentioned earlier, how many more sellers there were in comparison to buyers. I mean, we're talking about buyers who had an crazy amounts of negotiating power. I mean, we're talking, I'll give you a scenario, right? So I was able to get new construction is really the way to go right now, personally speaking. If you're looking at existing homes, good for you. But honestly, you should really be looking at new construction because they're helping you with not so much of your down payment, but they're helping you so much with your closing costs and they're buying down the interest rates, right? To levels that are lower than what you're going to get if you go ahead and buy a resale home. And like I mentioned, you're not going to get any rate that's better unless if it's a new construction right now. So I think last month or so, I was able to lock someone in at a 4.99 fixed. They literally didn't come out of pocket for closing costs at all. It was just, of course, what they had to do to get the home under contract. And I mean, we're talking 10,000 plus of concessions. Like they didn't have the wash. They got a wash and dryer. They didn't get wash and dryer. Sorry, they didn't get a refrigerator. So those are the only real other things that I would say if you're going to be looking for a home right now. Well, I mean, you can try now. I don't know how much things have changed with mortgage rates really coming down. If these builders, at least nationally, are still offering their incentives the same way. But some markets, of course, I think you'll experience it. I know a buddy of mine, they got they got no appliances as well. But they're moving into a home and they already had their own appliances, so it didn't really matter to them. But let's go ahead and move on forward. So in summer 2025, or is it 20 summer? Is it no? So as of May, right? So one thing that the sellers were doing during the summer, or at least spring going into the summer, they were taking their homes off the markets for several different reasons. Of course, maybe they decide not to sell anymore. They saw what their neighbor was selling their home for, and was like, "No, I'm not selling at this. I'm not selling this market." In fact, I think I spoke to a guy not too long ago, and I was like, "Why don't you just sell it? Like, if you absolutely need to." He says, "I'm not selling for a loss, and I have a good rate. Like, if I want to sell, I'm gonna sell and take a profit off of this. I'm not gonna sell and take a loss." So that's a lot of the mindset that a lot of sellers have nowadays. So you definitely want to keep that in mind because that's not going to definitely help you. But this is, of course, what has happened. And all of this that has happened can still occur. So even though I'm really talking about things that is in past tense, just keep in mind that all of this can still occur in the spring, really. Because that's the next time where I can anticipate a lot of sellers coming back onto market to try again to sell. So hold that to your hip. Write that down. Do whatever you got to do because that is information that you're going to definitely want to know. And of course, as you can see here, we'll know more specifically where are the buyer's markets. But as you can see here, Florida and Texas are two of the strongest buyer markets, where some of the East Coast is still in seller markets, which is kind of a flip if you really think about it. I really wish I fixed this because it's going to throw me all off. I got to fix my Stream Deck. I messed it up. But if you kind of see what's going on here, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to dive a little bit deeper into it, but it's a shift, right? So I think during 2020, it was the South, some of I don't know what you consider Texas. South what? I don't know what you consider Texas. It's not Midwest. I want to say South. I don't know. My geography is not there right now. So I know Texas, California, Florida, the Southeast, all of the Southeast really was on fire during 2020. So now, if you kind of look at things, it kind of flip flop, right? So southeast is not on fire right now. In fact, southeast is where the buyers really should be putting a little bit more attention and time into, because that's where you can go ahead and get maybe a better bargain in comparison to the northeast or even the Midwest, right? Those were slower markets during the 2020. Of course, they still operated, right? Don't get me wrong, but it didn't operate the same as like the Southeast, Texas. I don't know. I don't remember exactly how California, or at least the West, was during all of this. I know a lot of buildings started, but I don't remember. So it's a flip flop that's going on. So this flip flop is gonna come back at some point. Like, let's just put it like that. Let's go ahead and continue through this here. So if we look here, June of 2025 is the only month in records dating back to 2013 where sellers outnumber buyers by a greater percentage. So you can see how important it was when sellers were outnumbered, because that's not generally the case. If anything, it's really, as we can kind of see here, it's like even in 2016, it's like a fine balance. I would say anything between like that 0 and 10 is like a fine balance, which that's where it kind of sits, at least from 2016 all the way going to, let's say, yeah, just 2019 levels. After that, this has been out of whack entirely. You know what I mean? So you may be wondering, like, well, why does this matter? Why do you care? Well, the only reason why this all matters is because this is going to give you, as a buyer, the ability to know how much negotiating can you do, or are you going to get slapped with accept this or move on, which was essentially happening in 2020, right? You were essentially getting the home whether you liked it or not, in the circumstances whether you liked it or not, and had to accept it, and that was just that. Now you have options. Now you can, now sellers have to kind of listen to your feedback and listen to what you're saying, to make sure that they can move forward with their home. Because otherwise, if they can't move forward with their home, then they're not moving. And their home is getting listed or is on the market for a reason, right? I mean, yeah, they can move later, they can postpone their plans, but I promise you, a seller that has their home on the market, they want to sell. But of course, a buyer's market. But of course, it's only a buyer's market for those who can afford to buy, which many Americans, as we know, are being priced out at this current moment. However, mortgage rates are falling, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. Yes, they're falling, but they're gonna fall over like the next duration of time. Like, they're gonna fall really slowly, intentionally. In fact, I don't really think that they're gonna get to like a level of median until like 2027 ish, which I'm not going to try to guess and tell you where I think I could see them, because I honestly don't even know. I can only tell you what I see at this current moment. But I will give you, I think I have, what's it called, estimates as far as, or predictions that were made as far as where mortgage rates may go in the next couple of months. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to tap into that. But if you are being priced out, this is why I'm just mentioning to you. Stay tuned. When I start talking about the down payment assistance, this is when you want to write things down. This is when you want to, I'll drop the website. I'm not going to gatekeep nothing. I want y'all to know where it is and how to find this information, so you can even utilize it yourself and don't have to necessarily lean on anybody else to provide you this information. And if anything, if you really want to lean on somebody, then go ahead and do so. And if you really need assistance and need some sort of help, then just reach out to me. Let me know. And the best way to do that is to click the link in the description, have it somewhere down there to get connected with me or another agent. I work in the North Carolina market, so if you're looking outside North Carolina, then your best bet is to connect with me so I can connect you to someone that I know that can help you. But this right here is a good visual of how much of a disparity there was between sellers and buyers. And I'm sure you've seen this picture before. It's been floating. I did a video on it myself. I think I talked about it on streams plenty of times. So this is what really caused the summer of 2025 to be one of the best markets. And I really, really do hope that this is not brand new news to you. Because if it is, then I got to try to do something better to make sure I get this information out to y'all. Because I know when I dropped this, it was prime time. In fact, I could probably try to find the stream that I did this and let you know. Because this is the type of information you really, I promise you, you don't want to miss out on. Let's see. I gave this information 3 months ago. And the stream was called Housing Market Warning: Troubles for Sellers in 2025. Literally. 3 months ago I talked about this pretty picture that we see here. But if you didn't take advantage of the market because you're waiting for whatever, then I'm sorry to break it to you, but you might be waiting a little bit longer. Yes, we know that the housing market has been shedding home buyers due to rising home prices and high mortgage rates, which is why, of course, this continues to get suppressed. But as rates start to come down, expect more buyers to get into the market, and that's another caveat to this whole freaking thing. In fact, let me go ISO mode right now, because if you really, really think about it, as rates come down, this is what's gonna happen. Just look at what's going to happen in 2020. When rates come down, more people can afford to purchase. More people can afford to move. So what happens is essentially every buyer, even seller, homeowner currently decides, hey, let's change our plans up and let's do something differently, right? Which brings more competition into the market, which then will go ahead and drive up prices again because everybody's overbidding, right? It's a ripple effect. It's a cycle. And until you identify where you are in the cycle and how is it that you don't play in that cycle, then you're going to continue to play by it. So you essentially, my say is, get ahead of it. Don't play in it. Get ahead of it. And of course, if those better circumstances do occur, then you have an opportunity to take advantage of it. You're not behind the eight ball like many other individuals who are not preparing themselves for it. Let's see here. So this is actually key news too, because as we know, rates are, but mortgage rates have fallen in recent weeks. But this is pretty interesting news here. So we haven't yet seen a big jump in home buyer demand due to declining mortgage rates, said Shinzaho. My bad, bro. I don't know how to pronounce that name. But Redfin's head of economist research. Sorry. So that's actually interesting news because obviously rates, that's pretty much stating rates dropping they haven't dropped enough for buyers to want to get into the market, right? So as rates keep falling, just like I mentioned and like I've said already, keep anticipating them to bring in more buyers, and that's honestly the goal, right? Everyone is going to talk about rates, and the goal is to bring more buyers into the market. And one of the ways to do that with affordability is to, lower the rates. So you can expect that, but as we know, sellers, I'm going to go ahead and almost wrap this up here because it kind of repeats itself over and over, because as we already know that sellers are well, at least they were outnumbering buyers. So, and of course, they started delisting their home, as I mentioned earlier, too, while others are opting not to list after seeing their neighbors sell their house for under asking price. Right? And that's the thing, right? A lot of individuals, I know there's a lot of people who are like, I can't wait for the sellers to feel the pain. And it's like, some sellers are in such great position that they don't necessarily care. I can kid you not, some sellers will probably be like, I'll stay in this home another year before go ahead and doing something. It's the really motivated individuals who are just going to sell. And I honestly will say, if they're selling, they're still going to come out on top, because especially if they bought, prior to 2020 or even prior to 2022, right? If they bought before then, they have they're in their position pretty well because they have a lot of equity. So yeah, they can sell for less, but they have a lot of equity. Let's just put it like that. So where are some of the buyers markets? As we know, Florida and Texas are two of the biggest ones. And then we're going to go ahead and talk about some seller markets as well. So Florida, Texas, I mean, we got Fort Worth. So anything you see in red is a buyer's market. What we got here? Atlanta, Georgia. Ah, look at that. This is Charlotte. Yeah. Look at that. Raleigh's nowhere to be found. Cary, Raleigh, Durham, nowhere to be found, y'all. In fact, I would say, we're getting close. Personally speaking. What's this? Colorado, Denver. Yeah, I know Denver's getting beat up right now. I know someone who's trying to get rid of his home in Denver. I mean, if you're really looking for a good home in Denver, I got you. You just got to reach out to me. I know someone who is literally willing to sell, and I'm pretty sure we can, mesh up these pieces and get you something there as a buyer if you are looking in Denver. But I know a sleeper. It's a sleeper home. Now, for some reason, that Denver market, boy, they are getting it. They are getting it. It's one of those like situations where every time I talk to him, I'm just like, bro, it's literally, and I don't even mean to be like this, but this is just the reality. What we got up here? Portland, Oregon, Seattle, Washington, Las Vegas, Nevada, Phoenix, Arizona. So these are all buyers markets, all right? We got all of Cali. Well, not all of Cali. San Jose is probably the only one in balanced market. Seems like everybody else is. Riverside, Anaheim, Los Angeles, San Diego. What's this? Sacramento, Oakland, San Fran. What's over here? Nashville, Tennessee. Right, and this is all as of summer of 2025. All right, that's one thing I'm going to continuously say because I don't want y'all to think that this is the case right now. A lot has changed since the summer of 2025. In fact, I think, as you guys can kind of see here, things are getting a little bit more balanced in certain markets. And I think that's essentially where we're heading more into. So as far as those that are seller markets, you have Cleveland, Ohio. And a seller, I should have broke this down. If you don't know, a seller's market is determined by the amount of inventory that's on the market. So if it's anything less than 6 months, then that's a buyer's market. If it's anything more, then no, sorry. If it's anything less than 6 months, it's a seller's market. Anything more than 6 months of inventory specifically, so the amount of homes that you're seeing on the market, if there's a lot of homes, like I'm talking like you see a listing every other block, you see a listing on every other home, then that's a buyer's market. But if you see like a lot of listings, it's a buyer's market. If you see not many listings, then it's a seller's market. So if I confused you there, drop it in the comments below or leave it in the chat, and I'll go ahead and explain that in detail. But buyer's market is essentially when you have options. Seller's market is when you don't have options and you're bidding against everybody and their mama, right? But let's see where some of the seller's markets are. Cleveland, Ohio. I want to say there's a blue back there, but I can't tell. Montgomery County in Pennsylvania. We have New Jersey, New York, Newark, Nassau County, New York. So really the Northeast. And I'm sure some other places up here as well, but they're probably just not, in a heavy buyer's market or seller's market. Alrighty, so let me see if there's anything here that I can talk about. No, that we know that. In fact, let's talk a little bit more about, as we're entering, a balanced market per se. Can you negotiate the same? Personally speaking, I'm going to say no. You're going to have a much tougher time getting everything and anything that you want, especially if there's just as many sellers as there are buyers. If sellers start to understand that, all right, they're home, which as a real estate agent, I explain to all my sellers that are working with me, hey, this is what we're looking at in terms of days on market. There's a possibility we can exceed this. Of course, if we don't position ourselves right, if the home isn't right price wise, if the condition of the home isn't right, you can exceed that a little bit. But most sellers know how long it's going to take for their home to get off the market, or at least get it on the contract, not necessarily get off the market, get on the contract. So that's something to keep in mind. Sellers have this information, so you can't just walk in there, and especially in a balanced market, you can't just put your foot down unless if you know they're extremely motivated and you know their reasoning as far as why they're motivated. Then yeah, hold them by the string, right, and just make them dance. Oh man. Oh, I gotta stop. I gotta stop. Let me know if you guys do have any questions. I know I've been rambling for quite some time now. Oh, let me see here. The only bad thing I would say with balanced markets are you may have to act a little bit more quickly, and they can easily go into a seller's market if things don't work into your favor anymore. So, something to truly indeed keep in mind. But one thing I want to mention is where are, now that we kind of got rid of that article, you guys kind of got a gist of why the summer of 2025 was one of the best markets for a buyer to purchase in. I want to now I want to transition, take that topic away, and just kind of move forward, and look at what may come. That way, you guys can go ahead and position yourself, knowing what you know now and how things were. If that market does appear again, just know how to react. Don't be reactive, right? Be proactive in this situation. I mean, that's real estate, and that's how you're gonna get the best bargain. That's how you're gonna get the best opportunities for yourself. But where is the real estate market heading for at least 2026? So everyone that's expecting, my bad, just got a text there. Everyone's expecting a crash, or at least not maybe expecting wants one. I think that's the better word for it. So I'm sorry to break it to you, but based off of what I've read, what I've seen, based off of where we're at right now, and in order for a crash to happen, like this, the whole economy has to go to shit. Honestly, excuse my language. Sorry. Like it has to be a lot of bad things to happen in order for this all to occur. So don't expect a crash, at least for 2026. You could probably expect, prices to, yeah, kind of slowly decrease in certain areas, or maybe even slowly increase or stay very flat and leveled. I think you can expect that a little bit more. But a crash meaning you're expecting prices to come down 20 plus percent. I'm sorry. You might have to continue to wait for that one. Which your best bet is, if you're really waiting for that, you should at least be no, you should know where to find this information to see how is your markets even performing. Or you can just get connected to a local agent. And of course, if you don't know now, that link in the description, referral agent, I got you. I got you. Of course, outside of North Carolina. But if you go into North Carolina, throw your hands up, take it, what, twist it in the. I got you. I got you. I can't sing it too much. But here, I will go ahead and share this here with you because it gives you an idea of what's really happening, or at least what's happened since, right? So this is Zillow's forecast of where our price is going to go for starting of August of 2025 going to 2026. As I mentioned earlier, we know that the Northeast, they're doing really well right now, right? Northeast, and as well as some areas here, right, where we really saw a lot of seller markets and balance markets, right? We know that they're doing well now, which honestly, based off of how things are now, they'll probably continue to do well. It's the Florida, it's the Texas, it's the Southeast, it's I don't some of California that may get hurt a little bit more, right? Or may have a little bit more stability. It's again allowing prices not necessarily to fluctuate because that's not, as we can see here. You see a lot of yellow on this freaking chart or this map. Shout out to Resi Club for providing this data and this information. It's very interactive as well. So if you guys do have a specific market that you want me to tap in and look at, then here's your opportunity to go ahead and do so. But you can see a lot of yellows, right? We only see blues. I'm gonna spot out the blues, just so you guys can see where are those markets that will be increasing in prices. Because if there's blue, then that means it's gonna be an increase. It's not gonna be a decrease. Any yellow means pretty much stable, which that's what a lot of individuals, experts, economists are. They're all expecting prices to kind of be steady all of next year, essentially. Steady or declining, right? And it's all going to be area specific. Like we know Louisiana, it looks like they're still going to get beat down. Right? Louisiana, we got some still in Texas. And I'm only going through this because I know y'all can't see this as well. We got some PA, not as much in PA, Johnstown. So if you know anybody there that's trying to sell, you know, you might want to urge him to do that as soon as possible. Utica, California? What? Never heard of that place. I'm trying to find all the reds, and the reds could be a good thing for you, especially if you're in the market as a buyer to try to purchase. What we got? Mississippi, Cleveland, Greenville, Mississippi. I see another one. Kennett, Missouri. Murray, Kentucky. Yeah. I don't see any more. Let's check out some blues. Montana. Looks like Montana's gonna do well. Wyoming's gonna do well. Fayetteville, Arkansas is going to do well. Just in that area, at least. Everywhere else looks like they're going to be pretty moderate or decreasing in pricing. New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico might do well. So let's see here. What's this? Hilton Head. Island, South Carolina is supposed to do well. Where's Raleigh? Sanford is going to do well. Pinehurst is going to do well. Fayetteville is going to do well. Raleigh's going to be pretty stable. Okay, how about Durham? Do better. Burlington. Interesting. So all the major areas that got a pretty big price bump. But yeah, you guys could go ahead and take a look at this. I probably spent a little too much time looking at this. But this is good information to help you and understand how is it that you can prepare yourself, because this is Zillow, right? Zillow just stating as of August of 2025 to now, or to next year, where at least they anticipate pricing to go. So, of course, everything can change in itself, but this is where it's at right now. And let's go ahead and talk about mortgage rates, because as I mentioned, as we start to look at things forward looking, it's important for us to understand where rates are going to be going as well. So you can kind of see they're anticipating, at least this is another forecast, rates to be between 6.4 and 6.6, and then early of 2026 it being at 6.2 to 6.5, in between that range. And you're going to see so many different forecasts say so many different things. So don't even use what I'm sharing with you here as verbatim, because this is all just an estimate. It all depends on how the world decides to operate. Well, I shouldn't say the world, the economy decides to operate. So that's something to go ahead and keep in mind. But I will say right now, you can probably get a rate better than this if you just keep an open mind to new construction. I think if you keep an open mind with new construction and just kind of see what's out there, then you will be very surprised. I mean, just be aware of the type of loan that is being offered. And the only reason why I'm mentioning this is because I know that there are some builders out there that are offering not 2-1 buy downs or 3-2-1 buy downs, but they're actually offering adjustable mortgage rates. So if you don't know what that is, just be cautious of it because you at least understand entirely what exactly that is. That way you don't get caught in what happened in 2020, what happened in 2008, where a lot of buyers bought with those arms and didn't know that their mortgage payment can't rise. And that's what happened. But here are some things to go ahead and look out for and see. I mean, this here is just an estimate, just based off of this here, right? So if inflation continues to trend in the right direction, which is downward, then you may anticipate rates will be even lower, right? If the Feds, as we know, they've made announcements, which of course they can always switch and change their stance, that they will continue to cut. So just see how much cuts they actually do, right? And then I think if those two things continuously happen, then yeah, we could see rates come down. But I don't know if you guys see that video by Mr. Wonderful, Kevin O'Leary. He mentioned, for those of you who are waiting for for those of you who are waiting for what's it called, mortgage rates to come back to 3%, you'll be wishing, you'll be very, very wishful. I mean, it's somewhere out there, but I'm just here to pass along the information that I come across to be able to assist you all. Because sometimes I know that y'all don't want to hear from me. Alrighty, I think I'm going to just leave that there. So, any questions, drop it in the chat. In fact, if you don't know, do this too. So, I mentioned if you ever need to get in touch with me or you need help, you need to get connected to an agent, then your best bet is to click the link in the description, which is going to lead you to here. I just have to share the screen. Oh no, did I freeze? No. Yep. It's going to lead you here. Once you're here, just press Let's Chat. And you can fill out that information there. And I'll get it via email. And that way I'll be in touch with you in the next 24 to 48 hours. And we can have more of a dialogue as far as what exactly you need help with. And how is it that an agent can help you. Maybe an agent isn't even needed in that circumstance. Maybe it's just, hey, I just need some guidance as far as what to do in this scenario here. So, one thing I would definitely say, with all that with prices being kind of stable, some markets, of course, experiencing maybe better pricing or worse, whatever the case may be. Depends on what market you're looking in. The one thing I would definitely say to start doing as a prospective homeowner or a prospective home buyer, don't worry too much about the interest rate, right? Look at how much are you actually saving, of course, right? Affordability is always going to be a big thing. So affordability, credit, those are two things that you're going to definitely want to, and of course, saving, right? Those things you're definitely going to want to make sure you're constantly doing, just because it will be a bit of a struggle if you don't do that now. And those homeowners who got caught with bad rates, maybe if you purchase after 2022 and you got caught with a bad rate, you may have an opportunity, especially if you're not even trying to move. Just keep an open mind, because you can refinance if that opportunity does present itself. This is my 2%. This is my rule though with the refinancing. If you're going to refi, make it worth it. Don't refinance and save $50 because you're gonna have closing costs. No one's gonna do that for free. No one's gonna go ahead and do the work to do a refinance on your loan, just so you can get that. I mean, I don't care what you see out there that states, you can refi with no cost. There's costs associated with this. It may not be as much, right? But there are costs. So make it worth it. I always say, or at least this is the rule that I live by. If I'm going to refinance, then I want to at least shave off 2%. Therefore, I can see how quickly is it that I can get that money back, because you're going to pay for closing costs. How quickly is it that break even point, essentially, as far as how much are you saving in comparison to how much did you actually have to spend in terms of your closing costs. So that's the math that I'm doing. Of course, do what works for your scenario. This isn't financial advice at all. This is just what I do in my circumstances and my situations. But as we move through this entire year and next year, I'll definitely do another one of these, because of course we're getting more information towards the end of the year. Excuse me. But one thing I would say is keep an open mind with new construction, as I've already mentioned, because you could probably, for all you know, get the rate already that you're looking for. So with that being said, do we have any questions that came through? No, if no questions came through, then just drop it in the chat, drop it in the comments, give me some sort of feedback, drop a fire emoji, do something, just so I know, like, this is hitting home and you guys are picking up what I'm putting down. Because if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, then what we really doing here? Yeah, honestly. But I hope you guys are, because this is information that I know that can be quite difficult, especially if you're trying to factor in your own circumstances, your own scenarios. It can be quite frustrating too, especially if you don't know what to look for, what not to look for. So this is why just happening here, right? Every time I'm doing the stream, you'll know well in advance when I'm doing it on a Wednesday. Just come here, share the stream with whoever it is that you know that's in the market, just to give them a little bit of insight as far as what's going on. And we'll go ahead and go about it that way. Let me guess. You tapped in, bro? Oh, no, he's not. See? This is how I know you don't tap in. You texted me talking about if I got a second. If you know, you know. Oh, man. But yes, let's go ahead and continuously move forward through this. So this is the real consequence of continuously to wait, because I know at least what I get, the feedback is, if you can't just outright play in this market, then you just outright can't play in it, right? Especially if you've tried. If you've tried and it just doesn't make sense for you, your rents are, and these are the scenarios where I tell individuals myself, like, all right, maybe it's not the best market for you right now. Maybe we need to work on a little bit more personally, or maybe you just need to look in a different market, or maybe we just try to find a better opportunity somewhere else in a different area. I don't know. Like, there's so many different ways of looking at it, but if the rents in your area are less than what you would purchase for a mortgage, I'd say, all right, cool, continue to wait. If you've tried and you can't get qualified, then you got no choice but to wait. But if you don't know what down payment assistance programs are out there, if you didn't even try to get a pre-approval to see what amount that you can actually get approved for, there's, what you're really waiting for, I don't know, because this is the risk that you run. Prices may go up, as we saw, literally. Okay, let me rephrase that. Prices may go up, or as we saw, prices may be stable, right? So expecting a crash, expecting a massive decline, you can look in a different area. Maybe that's happening there, but maybe not in your area. So keep that in mind. You may have to come more out of pocket regardless, because if these incentives go away, guys, you're going to have to come out of pocket, whether it's your down payment, your closing costs, whether it's buying down the rate, whatever it is, you name it. You're just going to have to deal with those scenarios. And then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, continuously wait, more buyers are going to come into the market, right? Affordability is a big thing here. That's what's keeping a lot of buyers on the sidelines. So if you're in a position where you can play in this market, play in it. Just at least try. And hey, I'm biased, sure. I'm a real estate agent. Yeah, of course you do what you want. I'm just here to give you the information so that you can make sure that your situation is a little bit better. I actually came across a few different posts and articles, and I was just like, man, why is this still the freaking case? It was I put it on my phone actually because I was actually disappointed to see it. And I was like, man, this is why I do what I do. I come on the stream because I know that somebody needs to hear it or somebody needs to see the word, hear the praise. But it said the article was black home ownership rate at lowest level in nearly 4 years. I say that louder for the people in the back. Black home ownership rate at lowest levels in nearly 4 years. I was like, man, with everything that's already out there, the information, the tools, the resources, the people that you guys all have connections or that you can get connected to, yeah, we can't let this keep happening. We can't. But if you continue to wait, then you're gonna go ahead and continue to wait. I personally speaking, I don't see the real estate market getting any better. And the one thing I would definitely say is, despite what everything else I've said, the big major thing is focus on your monthly payment, right? If you have everything, if you're positioned well, you just are concerned about the monthly payment, then ask the loan officer, like, yo, if I were to spend X amount of dollars in this market, what would be my monthly payment? Right? That is something that they can write up. Especially if honestly, I would say write it up in a sense where whatever you're pre-approved for, write it up for that dollar amount at that rate, at that current moment, of course. Things can change, can get worse, can get better. But write it up and see what your monthly payment may be at that specific pre-qualification number, right? That way you have an idea. If you do it, now that doesn't mean you have to spend that exact much, of course, right? You can spend whatever it is that you decide or want to spend. But the monthly payment is the most important piece, I would say. That's one thing I would definitely say. Keep more of an eye and attention to that because that right there is going to give you the information that you need as far as does it make sense even to move forward. I mean, I've literally had a client of mine and that was what she said. She was like, "Yep, I'm not trying to spend over this dollar amount. So whatever we have to do, whoever it is that we have to partner with to make this happen, let's do it." But she understood before I can even say anything. The monthly payment was the most important piece to her, and I think that's what a lot of individuals should have moving forward. Because otherwise, prices are gonna do what they're gonna do. Sellers are gonna go ahead and dictate this market. They'll retreat. They won't even list their home on the market intentionally because of their neighbors. So we'll go ahead and have that sort of market. But let me know if you have questions because now I am going to jump into the down payment assistance because I know that we're talking about, hey, how is it that we move forward? How is it that we can go ahead and position ourselves? So let me just pull this up and then share my screen. So like I said, I will drop this in the chat so you don't have to look at the URL verbatim. And so what this really is, this is a down payment, as you can see, a down payment assistance tool. Let me go ahead and zoom in for those that cannot see. Okay. So now that you have it, we can go ahead and utilize this tool here. All right, I can play with the numbers. I'll actually do it once, just so you guys can kind of see how to do it. But enter whatever it is that you want to enter here, right? And I would try to stay as close as possible to what it is your actual circumstances are. That way you can. Most people are gonna have the 3. Let's leave it at 4. Let's say you're a first time home buyer. You've never owned a home. And let's say you make 75,000. You can see here, right? You have 10 programs that you've matched with immediately. If I lower this, you're going to have more. Oh, wow. No, you're not going to give us any more? That's crazy. Let's see where is the lowest before it starts to give you more programs. Okay. So it looks like I can only match regardless. If you're making 30,000, and yeah, they're not gonna really give you much. If anything, they're gonna make it difficult for you to even try to purchase a home with 30,000. Honestly. Now, if it's you and a co-partner, or you and your partner, then different story. But you have 10 programs that you can now go ahead and take a look at, which I'll go ahead and click it just so you can see. If you're a vet, shout outs to you and all the veterans out there, right? Of course, you're going to have a little bit more of incentives. Great. Thank you. Thank you for your services in the meantime. Right. So, same goes there. If you're a Native American, which, if you're Native American, they have so many resources. So many resources. I was actually put on game about how much resources, and like they have their own stuff going on, like their own financing where they can help you out. It's pretty intensive. So if you are, then don't even try to just go to anybody. Find the Native American programs or financing specifically, because that's what you should be paired up with, without a doubt. Don't get paired up with nothing else, please. So let's go ahead and view these programs. And of course, if you are in one of these in one of these fields, these professions, I guess it says, right? We had 10 at the top. Or yeah, there we go. So if I go into education, I'll have one. Law enforcement, I have another one. Firefighter, I have another one. Healthcare, I'll have another one. But once you do all that, you can then go and see what program specifically that you can qualify for. Now, it's important, right? Because all of these resources, all of this is, if you see grant, then that's essentially money you don't have to pay back. But most of this is gonna be down payment assistance, so loans. Yeah, they're all gonna be loans, right? So you're gonna have to pay them back. So of course they are gonna have their restrictions, their qualifications, things that you have to hear by. If you don't hear by it, then chances are they're gonna come knock at your door and say, "You remember that money I gave you to purchase your house? Yeah, I need that back." So just understand exactly what programs, and I would recommend, honestly, just press the learn more to literally learn more about it and see what exactly there are the requirements and see if it's in alignment with you. If not, check out a different one. But this here, you have it now. Go ahead and check out that. It even tells you what tax credits you can even take advantage of, and if there are any additional resources. Which, look, you can be put on a wait list, for crying out loud. Especially for those that aren't ready just quite yet. You can be put on a wait list as far as where it is that you can go ahead and purchase when your time arrives. So, outside of this, your best bet, if you are a veteran or active serviceman, man, or woman, sorry, then of course you have your VA loans. I hope you guys are utilizing that, because that is 0% down payment, right? And then of course you have your closing costs that you have to take care of. All right. So in this case, do you really need any of the down payment assistance if you're using your VA? Probably not. There's really no need for it. If you are trying to utilize another 0% down, your only other option is USDA. But those have restrictions on it as well. And of course, you have to be in a more rural area. So if that's not, that don't ring your bell, it's not something you're trying to do, then I'm sorry, but that's the rules. I don't make them. But those are two other ways that you can really help yourself get like a lower down payment or none to be able to purchase a home. So, other than that, do we have any questions? No? No questions? Man, you guys must know it all then. Let me know in the comments and even in the chat. how's this information? Is drop a fire in the chat. Drop a fire in emoji in the comment section, right? Is that what people say? But no, seriously, let me know how is this all hitting, if it's hitting home. I hope this is information that you guys can all utilize moving forward on your home journey, because again, that black home ownership rate being the lowest in nearly 4 years, that just sounds like another downtrend for it to go lower and lower. And honestly, that right there, it continues to go lower. I think what is it, by 2070 or something? I think the black net worth is supposed to be like a really low number, which is not going to really help. So unfortunately, that's just where we're at right now. I will go through the buying process, but I think you guys are all equipped and know exactly how to. I hope you know how to buy a home, or at least what the process is like. If not, let me know in the comments and I'll go over this. Otherwise, I'll just keep chatting it up right here. No, on a more serious note, I won't keep chatting it up. I would actually disappear for the remainder of the night because your boy is hungry. So, doesn't look like I have to go over the buying process. But because I have it up, I'll go over it really quickly. It's just a picture, which when I pull the picture up, you can go ahead and take a screenshot of it because it's essentially going to share exactly the home buying process. I'll start with, whoa. Good Lord have mercy. Thank you. All right, you guys should see that with no problem. So this is essentially a buying process. I'm going to go through it really quickly, just for those who are here right now, or at least watching on the replay and just would like to know a little bit more about this process here. I keep doing that, sorry. I'm like a noob to all this, I guess. But the buying process, the first thing you should do is meet with a real estate agent. If you don't want to meet with a real estate agent, then you better as heck know how to purchase a home, and you better have done it before. Again, prepare yourself financially for your down payment, your closing costs, any costs that are associated with purchasing and getting the home under contract, moving costs, and some of the costs that are associated with getting the home under contract is earnest money deposit, which is very common in a lot of different states. The other one is due diligence money or due diligence fee, whatever you want to call it, but that's only in specific states. Here in North Carolina, we do have due diligence, which is why I'm mentioning it. But after you already prepared yourself, you will have your pre-approval already in hand too, which is then why you go ahead and start looking for your home. Your goal, of course, is to find your home whenever you find it. Don't rush it. Just go out there and look, right? When you find it, you're making your offer. Then you start the negotiating process, which is the fun part. Maybe not for you, but it is for me. Because you get to negotiate the best terms, price, conditions, the contingencies. You get to do all that good stuff. And so while you're doing all that, and you've agreed and everything's already in play, in a sense, you're under contract. So now it's just up to the lender to go ahead and do their appraisals. You go ahead and provide all your documentations to the lender, as well as the attorney or maybe the title company, to go ahead and make sure that everything is in alignment, or at least it can close before closing. So once that is all said and done, then you'll do your final walkthrough. I have final details here, which is pretty late in the process, which your final details is essentially you're doing your final walkthrough, you're doing your inspections, your appraisal I already mentioned, you're reviewing your terms with your lender. So it's just kind of making sure that you want to still move forward with the purchase of that home that you are on the contract with. And then, of course, you go to the attorney's office or title office, whatever state you're doing business in, and sign all the paperwork that they need. So that's really the home buying process, honestly. Let me know if you have any questions on that home buying process journey in itself. And just before I go ahead and wrap up here, I do have a newsletter that I do every week, every Friday, which will highlight a little bit more information just because, of course, we get information on a weekly basis. And if I can't cover it on the stream, if it doesn't make sense to cover on the stream, I put it on the newsletter. So that's another good way to stay in touch with what's going on. And maybe if you're not even able to tap in on the stream on a weekly basis or whenever I do it, the newsletter is a good way to stay in touch and stay in tune on your timeline, on your demand, right? Of what's going on in the real estate market. So if no other questions came through, just remember, we're entering more in a buyer's market, not a buyer's market, a balanced market where things may not be so much in your favor anymore. So be cautious of how you address this entire market. If in 2026 there is a decrease in prices, I think there's supposed to be rebounding since you stayed to this point. I said it on my last stream. There's a lady that I forgot her name. Sorry, I don't remember it. But she mentioned that our prices are probably going to come down in 2026. Builders are going to keep their incentives or keep their promotions going on. And so she's expecting everything to rebound in 2027. So things may not be favorable to those individuals who are going to continue to wait for the long haul, but I honestly think 2026 is like the very last time that a person is your average buyer that's on the sideline right now really waiting and trying to get into the market is going to have before everything just pushes everybody else out of reach even more. So if you have any other, probably not last questions because it doesn't look like anybody want to tap in with me today. So I'm going to go ahead and skedaddle. But of course, if you guys do have any questions, you can always reach out to me. Leave it in the comment section, and I'll go ahead and answer it then or even talk about it on the next stream, especially if it's a really good question. I'll talk about it on the next stream. That way you can get a more in-depth answer. But I'm going to get out of here, and I'm going to go ahead and go eat. Y'all have a blessed day or a blessed night, wherever you're watching in from. Have a blessed rest of the week. Tap into the video I have coming out on Friday. Is it Friday? No, it's Saturdays. Oops, sorry. But yeah, all right, I'm out of here.